August 2023. So guys, former Information Minister Jonathan Moyo has expressed his belief that a lawful general election on August 23 is no longer possible in Zimbabwe. Moyo's statement was in response to a report in the Sunday Mail which revealed that the government had amended the Electoral Act. He said delayed resolution of nomination disputes by the courts has compromised integrity of election, leading to illegal and unconstitutional amendment of the Electoral Act by the government. The amendment in question, statutory instrument 140A of 2023, extended the deadline for the submission of postal voting materials to the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission ZEC from August 9 to August 20. However, due to delays caused by court cases challenging nomination outcomes, not registered voters eligible for postal voting has received their ballots. Moyo argues that the amendment of the Electoral Act is unconstitutional and violates Section 157(5) of the Zimbabwean Constitution, which states that no changes to electoral laws can be made after an election has been called. He also highlights the lack of transparency regarding the printing and distribution of ballot papers as required by electoral law. He said ZEC has no power to amend the Electoral Act at all, whether during or outside an election, and neither Parliament nor the government can lawfully amend the Electoral Act or amend or make any other law that affects elections after the proclamation of an election and have the law apply to that election. The proclamation for the August 23 harmonized general election was gazetted on 30 May 2023. Section 157(5) of the Constitution of Zimbabwe provides that after an election has been called, no change to the electoral law or to any other law relating to elections has effect for the purpose of that election. Given the current circumstances, Moyo raises several critical questions that cannot be reasonably answered. These include the timeline for distributing postal ballots to qualified voters, the receipt of these ballots by constituency and polling station officers, and the counting of postal votes alongside other ballots. Moyo concludes that the electoral crisis is not the fault of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, but rather the result of disputes among opposition parties and candidates, delays in court resolutions, and the failure to adhere to time-bound electoral processes. In light of these concerns, Moyo contends that a lawful and constitutional election on August 23 is no longer feasible, and Zimbabwe finds itself in an unprecedented electoral crisis. It's important to note that this text represents Jonathan Moyo's perspective and should be viewed as his opinion on that matter. Jonathan Moyo argues that an election is governed by rules and cannot be a free-for-all or a process where those in charge can manipulate the rules as they please. When the rules are broken, especially to the extent that they could impact the credibility or outcome of an election, the election should not proceed as if everything is normal. The delays in dispatching postal ballot papers to eligible voters for the August 23 election caused by printing delays and unresolved nomination disputes have made it impossible for postal votes to reach polling stations and be counted alongside other votes. These unprecedented delays have made it practically impossible for a lawful and credible election to take place on the scheduled date, he added. These unprecedented delays have combined to make it practically impossible for a lawful, credible election to be held on August 23, an election that is not based on the rules as they were at the start of the election simply cannot be credible by definition. Moyo highlights the 2018 presidential election as an example of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission ZEC compromising the credibility of the election by creating an unlawful transmission route for the results. He argues that ZEC, as an independent institution, should seek guidance from the Constitutional Court to determine how to legally and constitutionally resolve the current crisis. Proceeding with the election under the present circumstances not only risk producing disputed results for local authorities, parliamentary seats, so threatens to discredit the entire election. The number of eligible postal voters is significant and their votes can impact the outcome of the election. Moyo concludes that holding the election under these extraordinary circumstances could undermine its credibility and result in widespread disputes. So guys, that's the latest here. The man is simply saying that Namamiru at the moment, and got 2 weeks away from the election, pasna kukatiswa manyaya dziri kumacourts. At the same time, mitemo iri kungochinjwa, and the electoral act has been amended even after the proclamation of August 23 as the election date. So in short, politicians are trying by all means to twist the electoral act to suit their mandate. And yes, inyaya ekutoti my elections are afana kuitwa in a environment whereby it's free, fair and credible. So guys, we'll be keeping you up to date with the latest here. Do you agree with Professor Jonathan Moyo, or you don't agree with him? Write it out in the comment section, because the man is saying that the constitution of Zimbabwe provides that after an election would no change to the electoral law or to any other law relating to elections as effect for the purpose of that election. This is something that our politicians, they always try by all means not to understand, because Sunday Mail actually published a story whereby the government is saying that they had amended the Electoral Act. So after proclamation ya Mnangagwa yakatwa muswa May 30 2023. Saka I don't know kuti vanenge vasingazivi kuti hazvibvumiri zvavari kuita. But anyway, we'll be keeping you up to date here on the weekly news roundup on Prince Miller Entertainment TV. Kana election isiri free and fair, chaona zvakare what happened muna 2018 vazhinji vachanga vachibuda vachiti zvonitabirirwa manumbers akutaura nezeka haazonzwisika. Reason why is because the preparation yange isiri free and fair in the first place. So the man is just pointing out some of the pointers that the opposition political parties need to note, and some of these causes are kuitika, some of these court cases are also from the opposition political parties at Chakari. Saka, if you look at it, it's something that they really need to make sure that in 2028 pasawe panema disputes akadaro like matabo candidates dzimwe nzvimbo nyaya ye nomination court yakavhura na 4 p.m. wasubmit papers avo but akazoprocesswa the next day. I mean, those are cases that shouldn't be happening again come 2028. Everything should be done on time to avoid such scenarios. Instead of preparing for my election, instead of campaigning, people will be in courts trying to challenge disputes among them or against the electoral body, which is ZEC. It is what it is. Guys, weekly news roundup. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll be keeping you guys up to date here with the latest.